Welcome to Retire Right with Rick Durkee, presented exclusively by the Coastal Financial Planning Group here on News Radio 94.3 WSC. Rick Durkee is the retirement income planning and wealth distribution specialist in the Lowcountry. Are you ready to retire right? Here's your host this morning, Shane Griffin.
And good morning to our listeners here on Retire Right with Rick Durkee. As you can tell, that's not Shane Griffin's voice speaking right now. It's Rick Durkee, and the reason being is because I have a special guest on the show this morning. David Gaylor is with me, and David, I'll give you a little bit about his background. He's a personal friend. He's a mentor of mine. He has been a collateral professional that has helped me to build my practice here in the Charleston area, and he does the same thing up in the Ohio region. David is a 25-year veteran of the financial services industry and spent his career helping boomers and retirees to save and invest for their financial goals and retirement destination and their plans. David founded Tradewinds Financial Group in 2002, specifically to serve the wealth management and retirement planning needs of residents of the Miami Valley region in Ohio. David, hey, great to have you on Money Matters this morning.
Hey, Rick, it's my pleasure as always, my friend.
And I'm going to save the best for last. Folks, he is also the author of a book called Income Allocation. Now, if you've been listening to Retire Right and even Money Matters last year, David was a guest on our show last year. He is the author of this book, Income Allocation. And today, what I really want to talk with David is why he wrote this book. David, you can tell that your conviction is very strong and the reasons that you wrote this book. Would you share with our listeners why you feel this book is so important to those that are retirement-minded?
Well, absolutely, Rick. And, you know, right now, especially with the stock market flashing warning signals like it is, having certainty and peace of mind in retirement is all the more critical. You know, it's all about income. Our working years, it's about income. We save from our income. We travel off of our income. We save for retirement off of income. And you know, there's this thing that happens in retirement that it's almost like an experiment to where people begin withdrawing from their savings. And we have no idea how long we're going to live. We have no idea how long that money's going to last. We've got stock market volatility. And the reason I wrote this book is to help people take their retirement from a retirement that's based on speculation, doubt, and worry, and replace that with peace of mind and confidence, knowing that their money's going to last as long as they do, that their income will last as long as they do. And really, that's what it's all about. It's about a retirement based on peace of mind.
Now, we are going to offer copies of this book today. You need to listen through with us, or you can always visit our website at cfpgroup.biz to request information from our shows. David, you can share with our listeners right now also, too, that they can't get this book on Amazon.com, can they?
No, Rick, they can't. I decided when I wrote this book that I'm going to control distribution. I'm going to do so through financial professionals to their clients. That these are individuals that I trust, that I know, that they've been through my Income Allocation University training, and I want to make sure that they understand how this theory works and how to apply it for their clients. The last thing I want is someone I don't know out there in the middle of nowhere, or in the middle of somewhere for that matter, but doing harm to someone with a book that I wrote.
Yeah, with the information that's in there, it's very important that we understand how it needs to be used by retirees and those coming up on retirement. And let me drop this information to you, David, too, and also to our listeners. First of all, I've been through David's Income Allocation University, twice, seen his presentation, and going to do it a third time here coming up very shortly, I believe in March. David, aren't we doing something together in March
Yes.
in Atlanta? Yep.
Yes.
And David, to let you know, the College of Charleston has just sponsored your Income Allocation workshop to be taught at the College of Charleston North Campus in May. And so we're going to be doing this complete workshop, and people will be able to take what they learn from your book and implement those strategies and actually be able to come up with some planning techniques to develop a retirement income plan. So we look forward to that. Wanted to let you know that news. Now let's get into the book, David. So there's several topics in the book. It is a easy read, about 100-page easy read, but I want to talk about some of the failed old rules of retirement that you list in the book first, and why those are so important that we address those old rules.
Oh, absolutely, Rick. The very first one we'll talk about, I think everyone's heard the term asset allocation, and asset allocation, the theory, it's a theory. It wasn't a fact, it's a theory, and that's what people took it as a fact, that if I'm well diversified across many sectors of the stock market, whether large cap, small cap, international, real estate, gold, bonds, fixed income, that sort of thing, that I should be okay through a crisis. And you know what? 2008 taught us otherwise. 2008, we experienced losses across every spectrum of the investment world, and the best thing someone could do, and this is actually in the workshop, and people who come to your class are going to see this. We take a target retirement fund. I'm going to spare the company whose fund that we look at, but it's a 2010 fund, Rick. Okay, and we look at 2008. This means this person's 2 years away from retirement. That target retirement fund lost 34%. If I'm 2 years away from retirement and I lose 34%, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. What that tells me is that asset allocation theory, it failed. It didn't work. And here's the thing. It was tested at its most extreme. It failed. We can't ever trust it again.
How about those rules of 100, 110, and 120, David, the longevity rules? What do we need to pay attention to as far as that goes?
Well, the thing is, the asset allocation theory is based upon like the rule of 100, the rule of 110, or the rule of 120. And basically, you just take your age minus 100, 110, or 120, and you create an investment pie chart, and we have growth as part of that, and we have fixed income as part of that. Well, that's the Wall Street model. That's the traditional buy and hold model. And again, Rick, it failed. And I can't stress that enough. If we understand the risk that we're taking in retirement, and the two biggest risk in retirement, I don't want to get ahead of you here, but the two biggest risk in retirement are sequence risk and longevity risk. And we have to manage those. Those rules were an attempt to manage those. The rule of 110, the rule of 120, it just means we allocate more to growth because people are living longer. The rules are being rewritten as we talk, and it's amazing to see how quickly things are changing. But the rule of 100 means I have a more conservative portfolio. The rule of 120 means I have a more aggressive portfolio. And that just means I would have lost even more money than that 34% decline in the most conservative model at the time.
Yep. So how does this all relate when we talk about withdrawing assets out of our retirement accounts? You mentioned sequence of returns risk. We also would like to talk about the topic that you mentioned in the book about the 4% withdrawal rate rule and how that's changed also.
Well, here's the thing, Rick. Whenever we talk about Wall Street, we hear something like, the stock market's averaged 8% a year for 100 years. I really don't know what the average is. Pick a number. Rick, it doesn't matter. I've yet to meet someone who's been retired for 100 years. Okay?
Yeah.
Retirement's a different ballgame. Average returns don't matter. So you would think, okay, if the market's going to average 8% over my retirement, I should be able to withdraw 4 and not worry about it. The thing is, if I suffer losses early, that's called sequence risk or sequence of returns risk. Averages are thrown out the window. So basically the 4% rule was a theory that was developed in 1993, and it stood for 20 years. But Morningstar did a study, and they said, from 2000 to 2010, the market didn't go anywhere. It went up, it went down, it went up, it went down, and it ended exactly the same. And if you had begun withdrawing 4% of your portfolio in 2010 and your portfolio was down by a third, which it would have been, you only have a 29% chance you're going to make it through 30 years with your money. 29% chance. So what Morningstar said was, 4% is too much. You should only withdraw 2.8. But with 2.8, you still have a 10% chance of failure. You won't make it 30 years. The Wall Street Journal shortly thereafter said, the bulletproof withdrawal rate is 2%. So 2% over 30 years. But, Rick, here's the amazing thing. Since we spoke last time, a new study's been released. And what they said is, me and you, financial advisors, if we're planning for a 30-year retirement for our clients, we are really messing up. Because of the longevity, we should be planning for 40 years. That's amazing.
Wow.
I say that to people, and the look on their face is they're scared. They're almost depressed. It's like they don't want to live 40 years in retirement. But here's the thing. What that study says, you can't even afford to withdraw 2% of your portfolio balance. In the first year, if we're planning for a 40-year retirement, you can only afford to withdraw 1.49. And it says you still have a 10% chance of failure. And here's the most amazing sentence in that whole study. It says very few retirees are willing to even accept a 10% chance of running out of money in retirement.
10%. So if you're running on a plan right now, let's just put an analogy out here. You're running on a plan to get from here to California, and the pilot comes on the phone or on the intercom system and says, "We're going to fly out to California, but we've got a 10% chance of getting there. We might crash along the way." Is that a plan that you want to follow?
Be a lot of empty airplanes, Rick.
That's right. So certainly we have to involve planning, and your book, Income Allocation, certainly offers our listeners an opportunity to learn about the proper way to plan for retirement income and the solutions that are necessary. If you'd like a copy of David's book, you can call us right now, 735-5065. We'll give out 5 copies to the first 5 callers, and certainly give us a call, 735-5065. Now, David, let's talk about another topic that's listed in your book, and this is the income sources or problems of depending on traditional income sources in retirement are no longer there like they used to. Social Security. What people are worried about that system running out. Let's talk about what percentage of their income today versus earlier years of retirement now is covered by Social Security because of inflation. It's a major drop in those Social Security benefits as far as what percentage of retirees' income is provided by Social Security, isn't it?
It is, Rick. The folks that I meet with that have done fairly well, they've decent paying jobs, they've saved a decent amount of money, and they live a nice lifestyle, and they want to travel and do some fun things in retirement. What I'm finding in my own personal practice, and what I'm hearing from other advisors around the United States that I'm training and taking through this process, is Social Security is covering maybe half of their lifestyle. And it's really not even covering the basics. And that's what I ask someone, when you come to me, I want an absolute bare bones budget. This is what we absolutely have to get by, but then I want to see the one that this is what we can do and live the retirement that we want to live. There's a big difference between the two, but Social Security doesn't even cover the bare bones budget. Yeah,
and how about pensions? Pensions have gone by the wayside, haven't they?
Well, yeah. Unless you're a government worker, pensions are going the way of the dinosaur. And the thing is, most pensions, even if you do have one, generally a cost of living adjustment doesn't apply. So over a 20, 30-year retirement, it's going to be a depreciating asset. What I mean by that, with very modest inflation, in 30 years, that pension will have half or less than half of the buying power it does the first day you retire. So we're still going to have to find a way to bridge that gap, and where the pension's going to fall short.
Yeah, we got to include the cost of living increases there, and also what's not happening in Social Security now too. How about that way to create retirement income that has been tried and true maybe in the past, but maybe here lately because of the underlying value of stocks, people developing an investment income plan based on dividends and interest. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, I think it's a dangerous plan because I'm reading in headlines right now, just because of the prices of oil and that kind of thing. Some of the major oil companies that have paid amazing dividends are cutting their dividends by 75 to 90%.
Because they're not guaranteed.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
If my income plan and retirement's based on that, I'm in trouble. Here's the interesting thing. If I buy a bond for my 2-year-old granddaughter or my 80-year-old mother, it pays the same rate of return, Rick. A bond doesn't care how old you are.
Yep.
A stock dividend does not care how old you are. The strategy that we have inside my book, the older you are, the better it is for you.
Yep. And the interest payout that you get.
That's exactly right.
It's all about return of your money, isn't it, David, and not so much return on your money anymore? And
it's about a predictable return on my money, Rick, knowing that that's going to come in a steady stream over my retirement and my lifestyle, or my lifetime, knowing that I can't run out of that.
Yeah, now the old solution used to be for that, David, that people would use traditional annuities. And oftentimes when people call in on my radio show, they're educated in the point of annuities as to knowing how the old annuities worked, where you gave an insurance company a lump sum of money, and then they created a pension check for you, self-set-up pension, so to speak. Those are even, maybe they're good for a portion of somebody's retirement income plan, but those old ideas have been replaced by some new ideas by insurance companies, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's great minds that work in the financial world, and they're developing new products and new strategies that will serve people well. In the workshop that we talk about, Rick, there's a 94-year-old man who lives in Florida. This was a Wall Street Journal article. And this man was down to $45,000, and he's making less than 1% on his money. And he knows he's going to run out of money. Mm-hmm. Well, that man could have gone to some major financial institutions and guaranteed himself about a 20% payout, about $750 a month for the rest of his lifetime.
Yeah.
But the thing is, people didn't understand that. Okay, he didn't understand it. Mm-hmm. And it's a shame to see that happening. Now, we're more advanced than that in the book and the strategies that we talk about. It's not that basic, but there are solutions for people out there. They just need to explore and be open-minded.
Okay, now that book is called Income Allocation. I'm with David Gaylor this morning, the author of the book, and it will be available to you if you're one of our next 5 callers calling here on Retire Right at 735-5065. If we don't answer the phone, just please leave your name and a phone number and a mailing address as to where we can send that book to you, and we'll get that out in the mail to you today. David, let's shift quickly here, and we've got about 8 minutes left in our 25-minute show here this morning, and gosh, time flies. But I want to talk about some of the risk retirees now face. What's that number one risk and concern that retirees, you mentioned this on the intro of the show here today, running out of money. What can we do? What can we do about that?
Well, Rick, let's think about that for a minute, okay? What does running out of money mean? What it means is, if I have adequate income in retirement, my savings is a surplus. It's extra money, okay? I've really never had a conversation with someone whose pension, Social Security, whatever their guaranteed sources of income in retirement, more than cover their lifestyle. I've never had a conversation with them where they're concerned about running out of money. Those people have the most peace of mind of any retirees I've ever met. It's
Absolutely.
Really one of the reasons I wrote my book.
Yeah, stress-free retirement, isn't it?
Absolutely. It was a conversation with a 92-year-old client. I'm sorry, 94-year-old client. He'd been retired for 32 years, and all that time he'd had guaranteed income that covered his expenses. And, the amazing thing is what it means by running out of money is, okay, if I'm having to use my savings to bridge the gap between what Social Security or my income is to pay the bills, what they really are talking about is they're talking about running out of the source that provides the income that they need in retirement to live. That's what it means. So why not take a portion of that, which is what my book discusses. Take a portion of that, determine what your income need is in retirement, and make certain that is absolutely locked in and guaranteed from a contractually guaranteed source.
Mm-hmm. And that leaves the rest of our money to grow at risk.
Absolutely.
Is at risk, depending on how much risk you want to take with that money.
Absolutely. And the thing is, under asset allocation, I have to keep my money invested every day. I have to keep it there. I can't afford to spend from it, Rick. I can't go buy the condo on the beach or the motorhome, okay? I've just depleted my income base. So I have to keep my money invested every day and growing for the rest of my life. But the thing is, I'm going to assume it's going to grow. What happens over a 30-year retirement when the market falls 3, 4, or 5 times? Well, that's called sequence risk. So we incorporate sequence risk and longevity, and those are the two things that we need to manage. If people will read my book, if they'll come to your class, they're going to understand how we manage the two greatest risks in retirement. We can take sequence risk and longevity off the table by following income allocation.
It's a smart move. David, I've often complimented you on being a pioneer in our industry. It's why I follow your educational programs, and you're not, I'm sure, available to listen to our podcasts on our shows every Saturday morning or anytime during the week because you're traveling around the country helping others like me learn this information and be able to get it out to those that are retirement minded. But I'll tell you, you are a pioneer in our industry. You understand the problems that retirees face. You've come up with solutions for those problems, and your book certainly does give solutions to those problems. I want to go back to one of those problems again that I read through in the book, and we've talked about many times on the show here before, Retire Right, drawdown. How does that, and you've mentioned sequence of return risk, and you just did mention longevity risk, again, that risk multiplier. What does drawdown do to a retiree's portfolio when they're in one of those buy and hold strategies or asset allocation models?
Well, Rick, I'm going to tell you, in the workshop that you're going to show people, in the class that you're going to teach at that college, we show a big brother and a little sister. And big brother retires in 1996, little sister retires in 1999. They follow the same strategy. They have the same amount of money. They withdraw the same amount. Little sister, from 1999 until 2014, her account balance drops 72%. If she would not have made any withdrawals, Rick, the stock market over that period of time was up 55. So by withdrawing through the 2000 to 2002 and 2007 to 2009, she took a period of time in which the market was up 55%, and she lost 72% of her portfolio. That's what drawdown does.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It is a very detrimental effect, and it's a measurement of an investment's performance from peak to trough. So what David just explained is little sister went in during a down market, right, David? Am I?
Yeah, 1999 she had the positive year. She made about 9%, but then 2000 to 2002 the market was down about 43. Then 2003 to 2007 it recovered nicely, but then 2007 to 2009 the S&P 500 lost 57%, and she just can't overcome that, Rick. But the thing is, again, had she not made a withdrawal, and we show an example of that, that's what income allocation does, is we carve off enough to create the income we need, we leave the rest invested. She would have actually been 55% ahead over that period of time. That through a traditional 4% withdrawal rate, she actually lost 72.
It's hurtful. You definitely need to have a plan in place. You definitely need to make sure that you go through the information gathering process. And part of that information gathering process would definitely be highly recommended to read David's book, Income Allocation. Call us at 735-5065. We'll get you down. Call us, leave a message. We'll get a copy of that book to you if you are one of our next 5 callers. We have 15 of these books today that we can send out. You can also visit the website. You can register for our upcoming class at the College of Charleston on income allocation if you visit the website at cfpgroup.biz. David, got about a minute and a half left, so I only got time for one more question, and then we'll have to have you back as another guest, okay? In a future episode of Retire Right. Why do income plans have to be developed first before financial decisions regarding what type of product should be used are implemented?
Well, what people need to understand, Rick, is this, okay? The traditional Wall Street model does not have an answer. The traditional Wall Street model is the cause. They are the cause of sequence risk. Buy and hold is what causes that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what we have to understand how much money we have to work with. We have to understand what our income need is, and we need to understand how much of that we need to guarantee and lock in our lifestyle. So this is something that people absolutely need to sit down and meet with you, develop a plan and a strategy, and have a spending plan. You need to know that in retirement, every day is Saturday. Okay, right now I spend more money on Saturday than any other day. With retirement, every day is Saturday.
I gotcha.
So,
yeah, it's a process that you have to go through. Unfortunately, David, as you've said before, and I've said before too, back in college, they didn't worry about teaching us how to retire. It was about how to get a career, how to build wealth, How to accumulate wealth is what we learned during our accumulation years. And now we're moving into those spend down years in retirement. And unfortunately, we did a very good job at learning the processes that we had to do to be successful to build our life savings. Now, at this point, we have to have a plan. We have to have a process. We have to learn through a process of discovery how to put together a plan to go throughout retirement to avoid the risks that you've shared with us today. And David, hey, I can't thank you enough. I wish I had another half hour or another hour. We could keep on talking, but I'll encourage our listeners to request a copy of your book today, 735-5065, or visit our website, cfpgroup.biz. Send us an email. Tell us you want to get registered for the upcoming class at the College of Charleston on income planning and income allocation. And David, hey, any final thought for our listener this morning?
Well, Rick, the only thing I want to leave with people is I hope there's a great deal of urgency if you've heard this show to spend some time with Rick Durkee. The Low Country is lucky to have you. I think you're the best at what you do in that area, and people need to be seeking you out, my friend.
Yep, and I was blessed when I met you first, David, and look forward to having you back again sometime in Charleston here when we have our next retirement planning summit. How's that sound?
I look forward to it anytime.
Okay. That's all we have time for today, folks. If you'll tune in again next Saturday morning for Retire Right with Rick Durkee, 9 a.m. here on 94.3 WSC-FM, you'll have more retirement-minded ideas that'll help you to retire right.